6 months.
Watch Bloomberg Business Report's mornings on Channel 2 News. On World News Tonight this Sunday, remembering a disaster. A day of mourning for the victims of Austria's avalanches. Raising the stakes in the Middle East. Israeli forces retaliate after a deadly bomb attack in Lebanon. And will politicians be muscled out of politics? More wrestlers are saying, if Jesse can do it, so can I.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight, Sunday.
Good evening. I'm Carol Simpson. Black flags contrasted with the White Mountains in Austria today. It was an official day of mourning for the 38 people killed by 2 avalanches in the Austrian Alps this past week. The last victim was dug from the snow only yesterday. The rescuers joined with the rescued today to remember those who died. ABC's Jim Wooten was there.
In the villages and valleys across these mighty Alps, the steeple bells of Austria echoed each other today, ringing their requiem for those who died. In this old church in Innsbruck, here at the foot of the mountains, 1,000 solemn mourners remembered them as well. Relatives of the victims, friends and survivors, and government officials now being asked if somehow these lives might not have been lost, whether somehow these 38 coffins might not have been needed at all. There were other questions this afternoon, traditional in tragedy like this. Where, for example? Where is God?
Wo ist Gott?
And why has he forsaken us?
Mein Gott, mein Gott.
But no answers here save the answers of faith. No new light in this sad season save the candles lighted for those who vanished, each new flame brought to life by those who tried to find them. The oldest victim was 84.
Sangerl Paula.
The youngest was only 4 years old.
Vogt Fabian Simon.
And the last one found was 12.
Schulz Renate.
11 other children also died beneath the tons of snow. And as there was nothing left to be done for them, there was nothing left to say on this crisp afternoon in the mountains, except goodbye. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Innsbruck.
It's not just the Alps that are getting record amounts of snow. In this country, in the mountains of the Pacific Northwest, even the ski resorts are saying enough. So you can imagine what everyone else is saying. Here's ABC's Jane Clayson. In a place where they are used to lots of snow, this winter has already been one for the record books.
It's as much snow as we've had to deal with in a long time, and it just keeps coming. That's the other thing. It just hasn't let up.
Huge amounts of snow, 30 to 40 feet in some spots, have fallen on the mountains in Washington state, burying buildings, blocking highways, even shutting down ski resorts. Main routes across the Cascade Range have been intermittently closed this year, with an average of 10 inches of snowfall a day. The avalanche danger is the most serious it has been in decades.
It continues to accumulate, and we're getting these temperature fluctuations, which tends to add to the avalanche problem. It's there right now. It can only get worse as we go forward into the spring.
Record snowfall in the mountains has also meant record rain in the city of Seattle. 87 days of it since November 1st. 13 inches more than normal, and this weekend it's coming down again.
This is awful. I hate the rain. We're ready for a break.
Blame it all on La Nina, global warming, or just one of those years. The concern already is the spring thaw, the runoff, and the likelihood of flooding. Jane Clayson, ABC News, Los Angeles. The body of 9-year-old Corey Anderson was finally found today near his home in Massachusetts. Corey disappeared Thursday when he went out into a snowstorm to look for his dog. Searchers found his body today at the edge of a shallow stream only 300 yards from his home. President Clinton is in Utah today for a family reunion at a borrowed estate in the mountains. He didn't join daughter Chelsea on the slopes. The whole family celebrated Chelsea's 19th birthday last night. Still ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, rising stakes in the Middle East. Israel strikes back against Hezbollah guerrillas. Small towns, big trials, and massive debt. The high cost of a high-profile case. And a medical procedure that isn't supposed to heal. The growing debate over fake surgery.
This is World News Tonight, Sunday. Brought to you by Red Lobster.
Put on your best suit, your finest shoes. You are cordially invited to Lobster Fest at Red Lobster. Indulge in all of your lobster favorites. From delicious lobster appetizers to mouth-watering rock lobster tail at the most casual prices of the year. Escape to Red Lobster for Lobster Fest today.
What will it take to build this company? To get ready for prime time on the web.
How can we do everything a little faster? Okay, a lot faster.
When they're looking for answers, more CIOs, more MIS managers, more people, look to Compaq than to any other computer company in the world.
Limits? What limits?
Compaq. Better answers.
I work out to keep my body in shape. To help keep my mind sharp, I take new Quantera Ginkgo biloba. It helps me concentrate, maintain focus. Why Quantera? All ginkgos aren't the same. The patented Quantera extract was proven safe and effective by doctors in extensive clinical trials. And it increases oxygen supply to the brain. With new Quantera mental sharpness, I feel my best, naturally. If it's not clinically proven, it's not Quantera.
The United States is urging restraint tonight in the Middle East after fighting escalated along the tense border between Israel and Lebanon. It started with twin bomb attacks that killed 4 Israelis, including a brigadier general in the Israeli-occupied zone in southern Lebanon. ABC's Clay Scott has the latest.
The Israeli response was swift, with warplanes attacking targets in southern and eastern Lebanon. It is the usual pattern of strike and counterstrike along the last active Arab-Israeli warfront. But today's roadside bombing by Lebanese Hezbollah guerrillas, which killed an Israeli general and 3 others, may have raised the stakes in this long-running conflict.
Certainly, Israel cannot tolerate these kinds of repeated attacks on its territory, on its citizens, on its soldiers.
Prime Minister Netanyahu vowed his forces would step up their attacks against what he called terrorist targets. But some analysts fear that strategy could backfire.
And this can escalate even further. And it might lead even to a major war if Israel, for example, invades Lebanon again. It's a quagmire. It's Israel-Vietnam.
Israel says its forces are in Lebanon to defend against terrorist infiltration, while Hezbollah says it is a resistance group fighting illegal occupation. 7 Israelis have died in Lebanon in the last week, and the public outcry is growing here for Israel to withdraw from a conflict many feel is pointless.
And we can't see any end to this clumsy or evil presence which has been imposed on us.
Israel has insisted it will not pull out of Lebanon except as part of the comprehensive peace agreement with Syria. But with casualties mounting in southern Lebanon, more and more Israelis are saying they cannot wait that long. Clay Scott, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Iraq claims U.S. warplanes hit an oil pipeline today, halting the flow of oil from Iraq to Turkey. Pentagon officials had no comment, but they did acknowledge an earlier attack on military targets in the northern no-fly zone. 2 days ago, the State Department issued a highly critical report on China, saying human rights there have deteriorated sharply in the past year. Today, the Secretary of State arrived in Beijing to deliver the message in person. ABC's Jim Laurie is there.
As Secretary Albright arrived here tonight, her spokesman said she would deliver a strong message to the Chinese on what he called a deplorable pattern of crackdowns on political dissent. Beijing recently clamped down hard on organizers trying to start a new political party. Today, Chinese police forced cancellation of a human rights meeting in central China. And this weekend, this dissident, Peng Ming, was sentenced to 1.5 years in prison without any trial.
The efforts of people to exercise rights of political speech, political assembly, political expression, that has been ever more tightly restricted by President Zhang and the current regime.
But it's not just human rights. There's concern over Pentagon reports that China is stepping up air and missile programs to give it the capability of attacking the island of Taiwan. And China has its grievances against the U.S. It's denounced the U.S. decision to stop the sale of a commercial satellite, which involved companies with ties to the Chinese military.
The decision of the U.S. government is unjustified and will have a negative effect on normal China-U.S. economic cooperation.
The current tensions are in marked contrast to last summer, when President Clinton and Chinese leader Jiang Zemin pledged a new strategic partnership. Next, China's premier is set to visit Washington in April. He hopes to strike a deal to join the World Trade Organization. The message that Secretary Albright is carrying is that progress on such economic matters could be hampered without progress from China on human rights and other issues. Jim Laurie, ABC News, Beijing.
It looks like Nigeria's former military ruler will take power again, this time as the nation's first elected ruler in 15 years. General Obasanjo, seen here voting yesterday, is well ahead with most of the ballots counted. Still ahead, the bug with an appetite. Why the Y2K glitch has lawyers salivating.
Why do I have Aflac insurance on top of my regular health insurance? Because he has his mother's eyes. Because I still have to teach him to whistle. And because Aflac helps cover what other insurance doesn't. If I'm injured, Aflac even provides cash to help pay bills. So why do I have Aflac? Did I mention he has his mother's eyes? Aflac supplemental insurance. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Discover the great-tasting fiber therapy that won't produce excess gas. Discover Citracel. People prefer the taste of Citracel over Metamucil 2-to-1. Taste tests prove it. Citracel. No excess gas and better taste, too.
How many sugars do you want?
Oh, I'll take 2. Hey, look at the little telephone.
Keep your eye on him. He'll be over every day to use it.
That's okay. Just as long as he dials 1010 321 first.
Isn't 1010 321 great? You should see how low my phone bill is.
Save 50% off calls over 10 minutes.
Right, day or night. So I save big on all my most important calls.
Like when I call my boyfriend in New York.
Right, like when you call your boyfriend in New York. Wait a minute, boyfriend? You got a boyfriend?
Some things can't be taught in a classroom or found in a textbook. But with Fixodent's long-lasting hold, you'll be ready no matter where the lesson takes you. For long-lasting hold, Fixodent and forget it.
We never thought we'd use OnStar for snakes.
I just hate snakes.
Yeah, traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire. It shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It was crawling with rattles.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking, because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
In Washington today, Connecticut Senator Christopher Dodd advised people to stock up on essentials before the year 2000. But the so-called Y2K computer bug could be a boon for lawyers. This past week, there were some efforts to limit the legal fees that could come out of Y2K litigation. ABC's James Walker reports.
When Dr. Robert Courtney bought his new $15,000 computers in 1997, he never imagined that with them came the Y2K bug.
Less than a year after that, I received a Dear Client letter from the medical manager saying that if I wanted to use my system for more than a year, that I would have to pay an additional $25,000.
The computer glitch means that come the new year, the dates associated with patient records and bills would be fouled up. Instead of spending the money, Courtney decided to sue, and as word spread, 50,000 other doctors with similar computer problems contacted him.
They became part of the lawsuit. Within a few months, the company said, we'll fix the problem for all of you.
The Y2K bug has lawyers salivating. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce thinks it could generate $3 trillion in legal fees and awards, and that has led dozens of lawmakers to try to limit lawsuits. 6 states have already passed laws protecting themselves from Y2K lawsuits in case programs that administer benefits are interrupted. Dozens of other states are considering similar legislation. This week, a bipartisan group of House members introduced legislation backed by big business that would limit lawyers' fees and the amount of damages.
We want the resources of this country to go into fixing the problem instead of going into court battles.
But attorney Salvatore Graziano thinks companies that sell software with the Y2K bug should be held accountable.
Free protection, even if it's not complete immunity, would make things very difficult for the smaller plaintiffs, the individuals out there, the mom-and-pop stores who suffer real damages to ever sue, to ever recover, to ever protect themselves.
Lawmakers disagree, saying their aim is not to prevent lawsuits, but to avoid frivolous lawsuits from Y2K hysteria that could swamp the courts. James Walker, ABC News, New York.
In Jasper, Texas today, at church services, clergy called on residents to move beyond the racial tragedy that occurred there. The plea comes 2 days after a jury sentenced John William King to death for the murder of James Byrd, Jr. With 2 defendants still to stand trial, Jasper has more than a moral debt to settle. It also has a financial one. ABC's Tim O'Brien reports.
The trials of John William King and his 2 co-defendants could cost more than $1 million. Jasper County says it has to raise everybody's property taxes more than 10% just to pay the bill.
Our county is a poor county, and we really did not have a reserve built up to take care of these unexpected expenses.
Most capital defendants, like King, don't have any money, so the county has to pay for the defendant's lawyers, for defense witnesses, including psychiatrists and other experts if necessary. Sensational cases require added security, and that means overtime for police. Most of the residents in Jasper seem to feel the trial was worth the money.
I think it has brought everybody closer together, and in the long run, I think it'll be beneficial.
But the burden of a large trial falls particularly hard on small communities. Rural Okanagan County in Washington State is seeking the death penalty for a man accused of killing a police officer. That trial could also cost as much as $1 million, almost 10% of the county's entire annual budget. And that means cutbacks in services and a county-wide hiring freeze.
He does deserve a fair trial amongst his peers, and I wouldn't want to relinquish that. But for $1 million...
The defendant's lawyers say they alone could bill the county as much as $630,000.
There is no bottom in the bucket. Defense is allowed to spend anything for everything. As far as I know, the courts would allow him to bring a doctor from Afghanistan over here for a month to interview this guy if he wanted to.
Back in Jasper, there are still 2 more murder trials scheduled in the dragging death of James Byrd. The appeals courts are standing by to ensure that the defendant gets a fair trial. But as taxpayers in small counties like Jasper and Okanagan are learning, no one is standing by to pay for it. Tim O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
Governor Christie Todd Whitman fired the head of the New Jersey State Troopers today over an interview he gave the Newark Star-Ledger. In it, Superintendent Carl Williams told the paper he believes most of the illegal cocaine and marijuana business is conducted by minorities. New Jersey troopers are under federal investigation for so-called racial profiling on the highways. Next on World News Tonight Sunday, real doctors, fake surgeries, a controversial type of research.
All right, but there's one thing everybody in Washington can agree on.
That would be?
There's more heartburn than ever.
And more Republican.
More burning, more pressure.
More pain.
Yeah, and it's time someone did more about it, too.
Alka-Seltzer does more with more medicines than any antacid or acid blocker. Alka-Seltzer speeds complete relief to your worst heartburn and pain.
Yeah, Alka-Seltzer. This country deserves more.
You sound like a Democrat.
Democrats just promise more.
Alka-Seltzer, more complete heartburn relief.
I'm gonna live forever.
I'm gonna ruin your shirt. Stay. Baby, remember my name.
The amazing new Maytag Neptune washer. With its Turbo Clean wash system, it actually has the power to remove stains.
Say goodnight, Stains.
Now in a super stack.
Nancy will have to see from near to far almost 1,000 times today. Her eyes will focus on 40 labels, 60 charts, and 100 smiles. And in all that time, she'll never once think about the science that allows her to focus instantly at all distances. Nancy just knows that her Verilux lenses help her see better. And for her, that's a very comforting thought. Verilux, the comfort of better vision. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-VERILUX.
Some things don't taste their best the day they're made. You'd never drink wine the day they crush the grapes, or eat a green banana.
No way, Dad.
And that's the secret to Papa John's traditional dough. We give the yeast several extra days to work its magic. We never use dough made the same day like some folks. Nature rewards those who exercise patience.
Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. Try our Papa's Choice, a large pizza with your choice of up to 5 toppings for just $10.99.
Researchers have long used placebos, or sugar pills, in their medical studies to determine the effectiveness of a drug. But now some doctors have begun to use placebos in a very controversial way. ABC's George Strait reports.
George Deshner never dreamed he'd be at the center of a huge bioethical debate. He participated in a controversial experiment because he was desperate to find a better treatment for his Parkinson's disease.
You can't worry about the little things. And what you're looking forward to is being without tremors and all the other things.
His surgeons said they were going to open his head and replace brain cells killed by the disease with live cells from an embryo. But what really happened was surgeons drilled a hole in Mr. Deshner's head and then closed it up without giving him the new cells. It was not a mistake. The sham operation was part of an experiment to test if embryo cell transplants are effective in treating Parkinson's disease. Mr. Deshner was part of the placebo group. Using placebos in drug experiments is routine. By giving half the subjects sugar pills, researchers can definitively determine if a drug works better than if no drug were given at all. But using placebos in surgical trials is not routine. The Parkinson's experiment is one of the first.
The risks of that are real, but they're extremely modest. The benefit is you find out whether the procedure really works.
Placebos in drug experiments are benign, but placebo surgery is still surgery. It's risky. Some critics say it violates the first tenet of medicine, do no harm. Others charge surgeons may be unfairly taking advantage of their patients.
The reason the patients do this is because they want the treatment, not because they are very willing to have a placebo surgery. And so the researchers really are playing on their desperation.
Despite the criticism, more placebo-controlled surgical trials are being planned to treat other diseases.
More people should get into it as far as the guinea pig aspect. It's not going to hurt you.
In fact, it may help. Once the experiment was over, George Deshner's doctors promised he could come back for another operation. This time, it was the real thing. George Strait, ABC News, Washington.
When we come back, professional wrestlers and their growing mania for political office.
Woods aren't the only place predators lurk. If you were being followed, would you know what to do? Make sure your doors are locked, windows up. Don't go home. Drive to where there are people, someplace bright, then lean on the horn and draw attention. For more safety tips, get this free book from Shell. Count on Shell.
Does your older dog seem confused? Doesn't recognize you? Or turns away when you pet him? It could be due to a medical condition called cognitive dysfunction. So if your older dog loses interest in your family and no longer acts like he used to, ask your veterinarian if Anafril can help. side effects may include vomiting, diarrhea, or behavior changes. Consult your veterinarian before using with other medications or tick collars.
I think of myself as a supportive mom.
Win one for Mom, Joe!
I can't let a sore throat stop me. So I count on Chloraseptic. 5 sprays gives me fast, long-lasting relief. I don't have to miss a second of the game.
Joey!
Chloraseptic. 5 sprays for instant relief that stays.
I'm 64. Is there anything I can do to stop bone loss?
Absolutely. Here's proof. In a landmark clinical study, Caltrate actually stopped bone loss in women at risk for osteoporosis, whatever your age.
It's never too late for Caltrate.
Monica, are you still in love with Bill Clinton? If you had to do it all over again, would you have had the relationship? Her most intimate feelings about the president. 2020 at a special early time, 9/8 Central, Wednesday.
At the box office this weekend, 8mm opened in the top spot with more than $14 million in ticket sales. Payback fell to number 2, and The Other Sister opened at number 3. Finally tonight, professional wrestling stranglehold on political ambition. It started with Jesse the Body Ventura and his big victory in the Minnesota governor's race. Where it will end is anyone's guess. ABC's John Frankel reports.
Death penalty time. Whether it's in the ring or on the hill.
He was lying.
Some would argue it's all about twisting a few arms. So it's really no surprise so many pro wrestlers are turning to politics.
As far as wrestlers running for office, well, look at it this way. We got certainly enough lawyers there, and look what they've done.
Newly elected Minnesota Governor Jesse the Body Ventura led the pack. Following Ventura's election last November, wrestling's most recognizable star, Hollywood Hogan, announced he was running for president.
Hollywood is here to announce my candidacy for the highest office in the land, the presidency of the United States.
Suddenly, it seems like WrestleMania has politics in a full Nelson. Tennessee's Jerry the King Lawler says he'll go for another title, Mayor of Memphis. Dirty Harry Bennett, now mayor of Davie, Florida, will be running for statewide office. And just this week, 5-time World Wrestling Federation champ Bob Backlund announced he's running for Congress.
I got the top of the WWF, and I promise you, I'm going to get to the top of the political system.
Vince McMahon, CEO of the World Wrestling Federation, says the public is tired of the typical politician.
Our audience being a direct sample of what is out there in terms of Americana, anyone who can relate to that audience, and conversely, I dare say, is electable.
To political veteran David Garth, it's no surprise.
It's going to get larger. As you know, we have actors, we have singers of certain quality, and we have more and more every year coming into the business because they have a publicity thing to jump off.
And what publicity wrestling is generating. Nearly 35 million viewers tune in each week, giving these performers plenty of primetime exposure.
Career politicians will tell you issues win elections. Politics is not a popularity contest, but these wrestlers may turn that conventional wisdom on its head.
John Frankel, ABC News, New York.
Okay, that's World News Sunday. Later tonight on 2020 Sunday, Barbara Walters and Diane Sawyer have a report on the dark side of polygamy. I'm Carol Simpson. For all of us at ABC News, have a good week and good night.
Tonight, the winner of 2 Academy Awards comes to network television for the